Good evening to you. First on News 11 at 7. A tense day on the streets of St. Louis as demonstrators react to the ruling in the Jason Stockley murder trial. A judge found the former St. Louis City police officer not guilty in the shooting death of Anthony Lamar Smith. This is a live look right now at protesters moving through the Central West End. Had protested throughout the day, mostly in downtown St. Louis. We have team coverage now on the ruling and the demonstrations that have followed. We begin with News 11's Chris Hayes and the details on the decision. Chris?
Clayton, Chris Hayes, News 11.
Chris Hayes, thank you. What has been a long day may turn into an even longer night. News 11's Elliot Davis has been watching the police response to the protests, and he's got late word tonight from the mayor and the St. Louis police chief. He continues our live team coverage from downtown St. Louis. Elliot, thank you. We're looking live again at protesters. It looks like they're stopping traffic in the Central West End. I believe that is Kings Highway. I don't know if we have the exact intersection. That looks to be Kings Highway and Forest Park. Protesters shutting down the streets there. Elliot mentioned the police chief and his concerns about protests growing more violent with night now setting in. He is not alone with those concerns. This after police reported nothing but peaceful protests this morning. There have been reports of demonstrators damaging police cars now, breaking out the window of a bus, that bus being full of police officers. Now look at there, you see one demonstrator on a police cruiser, an SUV there. There are also reports of demonstrators throwing water bottles at police and police using pepper spray on demonstrators. Tonight, there's also a renewed call for peace and a reminder that officers are not out there for themselves. They are protecting everyone else, protesters included.
There were some arrests made and some.
Our partners at the Post-Dispatch also have crews out on the lines drawn between police and protesters tonight. News 11's Aisha Khan is getting a first-hand look at what's coming into their newsroom. She joins me live from our Post-Dispatch Bureau downtown. Aisha?
Good evening to you, Andy.
Reporting live in the Post-Dispatch News Bureau tonight, Aisha Khan, News 11.
All right, Aisha, we're going back up to Bommarito Automotive Sky Fox. Looks like there's some kind of police pursuit or just police moving on Highway 40. It looks like they're moving toward the Forest Park area. As we mentioned, the balloon glow is happening tonight, one of the biggest fall events, although it's still officially summer. One of the biggest fall events in St. Louis. That the entire community looks forward to. There's concerns about protesters heading there tonight, and police are moving into that area right now. And still ahead tonight, we'll hear from Mr. Smith's family, including his mom, his brother. Their emotions running high in the wake of this ruling, certainly. And remember, our coverage of the Stockley verdict continues online 24 hours a day. Log on to kplr11.com. You can read the entire decision from Judge Timothy Wilson and see video of the protests as they happen and catch up on all the reaction from throughout the day. And if you're on the go, don't forget the News 11 mobile app to keep you up to date throughout the weekend. Got to work some weather here in now. A nice shot of the riverfront, downtown St. Louis. Let's go to the Weather Center and meteorologist Chris Higgins tonight. Chris, it certainly heated up today.
Yeah, we're kind of temperatures. More coming your way in just a bit, Andy.
All right, Chris, thank you. We'll see you then. We're going back up to Bommarito Automotive Sky Fox, hovering above that group of protesters moving through the Central West End, looking like they're heading into Forest Park right now. Let's send it up to News 11 Stan Daywood in the chopper. Stan.
Hey, Andy, those police cars we had shown earlier coming eastbound on 40 were actually coming up here to Kings Highway and Forest Park to kind of herd these protesters in another direction. We've seen this technique all day.
All right, Stan, we'll be checking in with you later in this news hour. And when your primetime news source continues, other news from across the pond in London. A manhunt underway now after an explosion on a train injures more than 2 dozen. We have reaction from the White House and more. Welcome back. We continue our coverage now of the Stockley ruling. This is a crowd of protesters as traffic shut down at Forest Park Boulevard and Kings Highway. Police have some concerns about the crowd moving into Forest Park. There's a big event there tonight, a 7 o'clock start time for the balloon glow. They'll wait till dark before they actually light up the balloons. It is a St. Louis favorite, and police have responded and are trying to herd the demonstrators away from that area. We've got no confirmation that that's where they were trying to get to. We just putting two and two together that there is a concern about one rolling into the other. All right, big international news now. Britain's threat level raised to critical tonight. Police are on the hunt for suspects after more than 24 people were injured in an apparent terrorist attack. British authorities say an improvised explosive device blew up on a London underground train. It happened at Parsons Green Station, south of central London. Investigators say a timer on the device indicates it was likely designed to cause more damage, but it may have misfired.
These are evil and cowardly individuals.
President Trump tweeted about the blast this morning that loser terrorists must be dealt with in a much tougher manner. The internet is their main recruitment tool, which we must cut off and use better. And still to come tonight on News 11 at 7, the recovery after Hurricane Irma. More than 1 million people still without power. The all-out effort to get the lights back on and start rebuilding.
And they need that.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the protests, continued demonstrations in the streets of St. Louis tonight in the wake of the not guilty ruling in the Jason Stockley police murder trial. Protesters on the move. So you can see a police car backing up as they move south on Kings Highway alongside Forest Park tonight, where the balloon glow is right now ongoing. This view from Bommarito Automotive Skyfox. We will keep you up to date. Going to move to some weather news now. Authorities. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the demonstrations following the decision in the Jason Stockley murder trial today. Bommarito Automotive Skyfox is tracking protesters as they make their way south on Kings Highway to Highway 40. Protesters on the move, police on the move too. You see the big presence there. Let's go back up to my colleague, News 11, Stan Daywood.
Hey, Andy, I could tell you the last...
Yeah, that is quite a presence there, Stan. Again, concerns about shutting down Highway 40. As Stan mentioned, we also have the balloon glow ongoing right now in Forest Park, very close to there. And you see them actually crossing Kings Highway as it crosses over Interstate 64, Highway 40 there. Keeping an eye, trying to see if there's some sort of move being made.
Andy, I don't mean to interrupt, but it looks like they're trying to get onto eastbound 6440 now. Police are moving in.
Yeah, you can see them there, Stan. Are those the on-ramps there that they look to be moving towards?
Yes, it is, Andy.
And then you have police moving in to block their entry to the highway, you know, the central corridor through the heart of St. Louis. Highway 40, also known as Interstate 64. Stan, you got any idea, is the crowd of protesters there growing? I can't get a good feel for the number out there. It looks like a couple of hundred.
Yeah, Andy, I'd say it's doubled in size easily.
Wow. What a scene in St. Louis.
Hey, Andy?
Yes.
Police are coming up the eastbound ramp now, as you can see.
More cars there, a heavy presence on the actual overpass, Kings Highway, over Highway 40, and traffic looks to be stopped on all ramps, both directions, just to keep demonstrators off of the interstate there and keep them from shutting down the highway. And now there's a big crowd approaching the police cars there, Stan.
Yeah, there is, Andy.
But it looks like the main concern right now is to keep them off the highway, and it looks like they're starting to break up and disperse, heading back in another direction. You don't know, Stan, whether they may, who knows what's in their minds or plans, or if they're just sort of adjusting and moving and seeing how things develop, but maybe they're heading to another on-ramp or trying to find another way to get out on the highway. They certainly want to shut things down in St. Louis and impact the economy. This Stockley ruling, a St. Louis police officer charged with the murder of a resident after a high-speed chase in 2011, nearly 6 years ago, December 2011, acquitted today on a murder charge in a long-awaited ruling, more than 35 days since testimony ended and the final arguments were made. And we're waiting for this ruling. Today it came, and there's a lot of anticipation, maybe a guilty verdict on the murder charge, first degree, maybe a guilty verdict on a lesser charge, second degree murder, or maybe manslaughter. But this acquittal complete acquittal, not guilty of anything, seems to have stunned St. Louis and certainly inflamed protesters who feel like a certain segment
Andy,
of our
can I
population
interrupt
is
a
getting the
minute?
wrong deal. Yes, Dan, go ahead.
Hey, they're crossing over.
This is at Highway 40, Kings Highway, near St. Louis U High School. There is no football game there tonight. That football team is playing, I believe, in Jefferson City. But I know there were concerns there all day and at several schools throughout the area about what might happen. No disruption of any school events or classes or early dismissals in the immediate surrounding areas today. But obviously some concerns right now about just getting around St. Louis, one of the main intersections here, shut down for who knows how long. Shut down by police cars and shut down by demonstrators at Kings Highway and Highway 40. News 11's John Brown is out here with me now.
Yeah, Andy,
John,
we've
you've been
been
looking at this all day.
Yeah, and we've been watching it in there as well, and listening to some of the Facebook Live broadcasts that are going on right now, and what the interim chief and the mayor said that they wanted them to do.
Right, and the demonstrators seem to be following suit. Stan Daywood, you're still with us, correct? You hear me, Stan? Okay.
Andy.
I noticed that, you know, when the demonstrators, as soon as they approached that blockade of police cars on the eastbound 40 entrance ramp, they seemed to maybe chant for a while. Who knows what they were saying? We can't hear them. But after a minute or so of confrontation, they moved out, and traffic is still moving on Highway 40.
Yeah,
It's hard to look at this and say, wow, what a peaceful demonstration, because we've got traffic shut down and you've got scores of police officers responding and, you know, working on a night they otherwise wouldn't be, and reacting to a situation that we typically don't see here day in, day out. But no one's been hurt today.
On these, just four, I think they said 4 minor injuries for police, just a few things that happened here and there.
And people did take some pepper spray. I'm not suggesting that that doesn't hurt.
Right.
Those images are haunting and reminiscent of Ferguson, certainly.
But even, you know, it's interesting because the video we saw earlier, so that's how they're staying on top of all this.
Yeah, intel, a big part of this, John.
Right.
That's a big part of this. Not just sort of roaming the streets, but having an idea of how it is going to develop. And we've seen it develop in ways we did not anticipate earlier this morning and then early this afternoon as this all began to unravel. And now it has moved toward Forest Park area, Kings Highway, Highway 40. Police sort of keeping everything corralled right there for now. Kings Highway shut down at this hour, and it has been for some time. And of course, everything that is driving this has to do with the emotions surrounding the criminal trial that we just went through. The ruling today has angered Anthony Lamar Smith's family members. They lost him to a police officer's gun. Former St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley. Now Smith's family vows to continue to fight for justice. Let's go to News 11's Kelly Hoskins to continue our live team coverage. She spoke with Mr. Smith's brother, I believe. Kelly?
News 11.
Kelly, thank you. After we heard from Smith's brother, his mom opened up before news cameras. Here's News 11's Chandrea Thomas.
The family was here along with...
And we all knew that when the Stockley decision was released, there would be strong feelings and emotions. News 11's Vic Faust has been following the reactions on social media tonight. He joins us with what people are saying about this, not just in St. Louis, right? All over the country, people weighing in.
Andy.
Thank you, Vic. That's going to wrap up our coverage of the Stockley ruling and the unrest that has followed in St. Louis throughout the course of the evening. Can we go back up to Bommarito Automotive Skyfox? Yes. Protesters on the move again, heading northbound on Kings Highway. It looks like they're back to the intersection. I don't know if that's Forest Park Boulevard. I believe it is. They had that shut down earlier, but they are moving back from the Highway 40 overpass that they had shut down for the bulk of the past hour. We'll let you know how things go between now and the time we continue our coverage live on Fox 2 News at 9, 10, and 11. Thanks for being here tonight. Be safe, be peaceful, St. Louis. Good night.
I'm Derek at SI.